new lawsuit claims a major insurance company used a computer program to deny some claims in a matter of seconds. Here's Factfinder investigator Lee Zurich.
This is personal. This is really hard.
A very personal story of building a family turned into what Amanda Bredlow says started to feel like a cruel game where insurance denials felt anything but personal.
I was getting turned on this very convoluted pinball machine of a path that didn't end up getting anywhere.
In January of 2020, Amanda and her husband, like many couples, decided they needed to turn to medical professionals to conceive a second child. It would be expensive, but they found a plan.
We saw that this policy covered infertility treatments, and we wanted to take advantage of that.
But quickly, they started facing problems using the coverage.
We started doing the treatments, and then we started noticing that we were getting denied. The reasons were very vaguely worded. It was like, this is not in accordance to our policy, or something like that.
Then the couple saw an article by ProPublica, an article that claims Cigna-employed doctors were signing off on rejections without even reading the files, denying some claims at an average rate of 1 every 1.2 seconds.
My husband just had like a light bulb aha moment, like must be what's happening to us.
In California, attorneys who work with clients on consumer issues also saw the same story and investigated further. Now they're representing a client suing Cigna and plan to pick up more through class action. The lawsuit accuses Cigna of using a computer algorithm to systematically deny claims in bulk without proper review by a doctor, something the attorneys on this case say is illegal under state law and potentially against federal insurance regulations.
They're supposed to use doctors to open up the patient files and examine the claim, examine the patient's history, complications, etc., to then use their expertise to determine whether that claim is medically necessary, whether that procedure was medically necessary. And Cigna is not always doing that.
Instead, attorneys explained to us there's a system called Procedure to Diagnosis, PXDX. It's a computer program that matches patient procedures with a diagnosis code. If the two don't match what the policy considers medically necessary, the computer denies the claim. And attorneys claim a doctor just rubber stamps that denial without a real review.
In some cases, people weren't reimbursed. In others, they may not have gotten necessary treatment. In 2 months, 300,000 claims denied. Cigna wouldn't talk to us for this story, but published a rebuttal to criticisms online, stating that its PXDX program was only used in a small group of inexpensive procedures, that 94% of claims in that system were approved, and that it has successfully helped us accelerate payments to physicians for tests and treatments.
At the end of the day, the people that this is affecting are humans. These are human problems that I'm going through. Having an infertility diagnosis is a human problem that I have to deal with every day. And this is something that is not being taken on with a human approach.
Lee Zurich, Factfinder Investigates.
Amanda and her husband don't know if their claims went through PXDX. Attorneys say it would be very difficult to know if any patient's claims go through without getting involved in any legal action. Cigna has not yet filed its response to the claim in court. We want to hear from you. Call our tip line or email us at the address you see now on your screens. We have Factfinder investigators ready to find answers for any of your questions.